I've been a police officer for 16 years now, and when I came into the department, I was one of 4 other females in the department, so there wasn't a lot of females. And I've spent about half of my career, a little over half of my career, being a supervisor and the only female supervisor in my department. I remember when I first promoted, it was very challenging for me to learn how to be a police supervisor, and then especially since there wasn't a lot of mentorship in the area of female supervisors for me to look at, it was kind of isolating and made me feel alone. And then I had some private difficulties as well. I went through a divorce at that time and some other things like that. And so the work life kind of took over as the only thing to do. And when it was challenging at work, then it seemed like my whole life was challenging. A perpetual feeling of just being down and never being able to come out of that slump. And so I actually did go and speak with a counselor at that time for about a year and just got some perspective. I think one of the things that police officers are really good at is pushing things down, because that's what we do to survive out here. When we see things, when we hear things, when we talk to people and their stories, and we just get bogged down with all of that, one of the ways that we survive is to just not think about it. The key there for me in going through the counseling was just to have another person to just sit down and help me think about those things from a proper perspective instead of just being tied up in my head all the time. There's been some times in my career where I've been bored and lacking a challenge, and so needing to seek another challenge has been a good way to build resilience, and realizing when, hey, I need to move on to something else, or I need to seek a different opportunity and not just get stuck here. And then I think the third major way that I commonly think about building resiliency in my life is having a safe person to talk to, and not just like a safe person to talk to about telling them all about the job and the experiences I've had on the job, but that person is safe because I can tell them about how I felt about going through that experience. It's just a place that I can process out loud those experiences that I've had, and the feelings and the responses that I had. And once I'm able to do that, then I can move past those things so they don't keep me stuck anymore. If you come into this career, which we mostly all do, where we're kind of bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and we just think, oh, I'm gonna help the world and save the world, and then you get in and the reality starts setting in about how sometimes you don't get to accomplish what you set out to do. Sometimes the people that you really thought you were going to help, they don't want your help. And so there's just that whole disillusionment that sets in. And I think that's a pivotal point in a police officer's career, because they have a choice at that point. They have a choice to say, okay, look, I'm going to adjust my expectations of my profession and my job, and align it more with reality, or I'm going to be disappointed and embittered because this didn't meet my expectations. The controversies and the difficult times that this profession has gone through in the last 5-10 years has forced us really to, as police officers, to look at it and say, you know, how resilient are we? How well are we doing emotionally? It's making the police leaders look at their agencies to say, how well are we looking after the needs of our people? Because obviously when we don't have emotionally well people is when we have a lot of difficulties in our profession. Well, when I first became a police officer, it was really just to help people. Then my why really became about my fellow officers, because I started seeing the things that they go through, and just the difficulties that they had control over or they didn't have control over. And it was like somebody needs to be focused on their needs as well, not just the community. And we've had a few situations in our police department where we've lost people because of us, I think, just not being vigilant enough in certain ways. To kind of head them off, and maybe things would have turned out differently, maybe they wouldn't have, but we won't know because we didn't engage them in those things. And so as a supervisor, that's one of my biggest motivations to get out of bed in the morning, is just so that I can be here to look out for them and look over them and make sure that they're doing okay and that they can get out there and do their jobs effectively and then live and to retire. Not only physically live to retire, but to mentally, emotionally enjoy their retirement. if they're not focused on their everyday emotional, mental wellness here, then they're going to retire and they're not going to be happy. And so I don't want them to have devoted 20, 30 years of their life and then not have anything at the end of it. These are unprecedented times for law enforcement. The things that I've been learning about lately have just led us to believe that people that have even been in the profession for 30, 40 years, they're saying this is unprecedented times for law enforcement. And so the officers that are in this field right now or contemplating getting into this field right now, this type of skill set, this type of knowledge and training is, I think, more life-saving than your gun or your defensive tactics, because you're going to use it every day. The culture right now is more resistant to police, and our function, our very nature is just being questioned and scrutinized right now, and it's taking a toll on people, and it's making people not necessarily want to come and join the police department. But I firmly believe that there are a lot of people out there who possess the abilities and the resilience to come in even through these challenging times. But we just really need to have the resources and the plan.